Welcome back, everybody, to game number 2 of Lai Gaming versus Invictus Gaming. IG taking game number 1 with a very mid-game oriented push strategy that really didn't falter in any way. And I think a large part of it, Lai Gaming, I think they had the right idea for the most part. Maybe some item choices are a little off. I can't really see Radiance doing much to that team at all. I'm not sure why he chose Radiance, honestly. It just kind of boggled my mind seeing that Radiance and going, well, that's not the typical build, first of all, on a Weaver anyway. But then on top of that, you're facing up against 5 different heroes who are staying grouped up and who are all very, very tanky, thanks to the mech, thanks to the aphotic shield and the heals coming out from the Abaddon. So you needed, like, and just natural tankiness. I mean, every single one of their heroes were tanks. They ran 2 supports that are some of the tankiest supports in the game, the Abaddon as well as the Ogre Magi. So normally, like, your Radiance would actually have a visible effect on some of those supports, but none of the heroes really cared about that tick damage whatsoever, especially going up against certain heroes like the Viper. Again, Radiance just being probably a very bad idea. There's so many circumstances and so many instances where I look at that Radiance and be going, okay, it's a bad idea for this reason, and it's a bad idea for that reason. I just couldn't really get behind it in any way. One good thing was it kind of helped split push a little bit more effectively, but it really felt like he needed a bit more of a traditional build, something like Desolator, to be able to lay in that heavy amount of single target damage so you could at least threaten one hero. I mean, how many times did we see IG go into a team fight, initiate, only take 1 or 2 kills, but more effectively just didn't lose anybody, right? There was everybody completely healthy, and you're going, okay, how does Lai Game actually get on the offensive after that Ravage is on cooldown when everybody is still perfectly healthy and grouped up as a 5-man for IG? It just really wasn't possible. So, Lai Gaming, they're going to go for something quite different, though, this game. We have the Wiz Tiny combination now being paired up with a Sand King as well. So, if you want some big single-target heavy hitter, well, Tiny's going to be your man. Paired up with that Wisp, he is one hell of a danger going into late game. And I feel like this is going to fit their playstyle a little bit more because they were doing quite well in the rat department there. And you don't really get much better rat than Tiny Wisp. At least when it comes to threatening those towers a bit better. Sand King being a nice support to be picked up as well, though it is very, very greedy going into the laning phase, and I think that's really where they're going to be left exposed. That Sand King early pick, I mean, the Wiz Tiny is fine by itself, but unless you're going to go for something like a Viper, I don't know how you're safe lane. I'm going to presume this is going to be a Wiz Tiny in the mid, a dual lane mid, up against the Death Prophet. It's not the ideal opponent that you want to be facing up with the Wiz Tiny lane, but I still think they're probably going to be running dual lanes here, and then put the Sand King as a support for the top lane. And unless you're running a hero like Viper or Razor's already banned out, what's another big, like, ranged tanky hero? I think Viper's really the best one left at this point. But I feel like IG could either just run an aggro trend like they did last time and just put a lot of pressure on the Sand King, make sure he's not able to stack up and farm and do that sort of deal. Or they just run with some sort of very hard carry in the safe lane solo and try and abuse that while running a more mid-game oriented 4-man with one hard carry. And I think that's what they're going to be doing with their Spectre, is sort of a 4 protect 1, the 4 being a bit more aggressive and looking for team fights. They don't want to stretch this out too late up against the Wiz Tiny. Even if you have a better carry than the Wiz Tiny combination, it's still rough to go into the late game dealing with a hero that can just rat you out rather than fight you up directly. So the Spectre being a nice hero to work in a 4 protect 1 strategy, because you can still be very aggressive going into the mid game 25 minutes in. You can still look for those fights, and the Spectre can be just AFK farming one of your lanes and still be there part of the team fight thanks to that ultimate. Now the Nature's Prophet just gives you even more incentive to try and end this game early, as the rat is very real and alive here for Lai Gaming. The Wiz Tiny now being paired up with the Nature's Prophet as well. Those side lanes are going to be forever split push. Last couple of bans here. The Mirana going to be banned away by IG. So, okay, Mirana Sand King lane. I could see the possibilities, the strengths of that dual lane, while the Shadow Demon banned away by Lai, one of the best defensive supports, but also can be a really great setup hero and does work very well in conjunction with the Jakiro. So it both acts as a nice defensive pickup, or would have acted as a nice defensive support for both the Death Prophet and the Spectre, who really get a big advantage out of key disruptions. Like, both of these heroes are going to be targeted in some of these fights, so a clutch disruption can actually change the team fight entirely. And then on top of that, will still be a good setup hero for the other support that he's paired with, being the Jakiro. So the Lina being the hero for Lai Gaming here, they needed some early aggression. I was expecting a Viper, as I felt like the natural tankiness of that hero mixed in with the mid-game powerhouse would do a lot for buying them time. But instead, they go for a magic damage dealer powerhouse with the Lina pickup.
10 seconds remaining.
And I'm loving this. I think that we've seen this a couple times. EG have run it a couple times. There have been a couple other teams who have chosen to run with the core Lina. It hasn't been that popular.
Zeus.
But Zeus now being the last pickup for IG, which means our lanes may be seeing a bit of a change here, unless this is just an off-lane Zeus. No, I'm sorry. Support Zeus. Support Zeus, some teams have been experimenting with this one, so the Zeus Jakiro babysitting the Spectre, Tidehunter in the offlane, and Death Prophet in the mid. They may try and run their two supports going into the offlane with the Tidehunter and run some sort of aggro tribe, though I am kind of doubting that.
Prepare for battle.
It is an amazing amount of spam, that is for sure. And if they ran the aggro try, I would have expected them to run it with the Tidehunter, and not necessarily the Spectre, but apparently they're still going to put the Spectre here. Now, they know they're probably going to be facing dual lanes, so it does give them a lot more. Oh, they're actually running a core Sand King here rather than a core Lina. Now, that's another possibility that I didn't talk about, solely because of the fact that we've seen more core Linas lately than core Sand Kings, though we used to see core Sand King back in the day. So Sand King will be the farmer here for this bottom lane, XDD and his Wisp super in the mid lane, and then just an off lane Furion. Very defensive ward being placed rather early on. This is one of those wards that you kind of ensure that you're not going to see it countered, just because it's a bit unusual and isn't optimal, I would say. Zhaoji is in a bit of trouble here, but will be just using his Burrow Strike to get up the cliff. So loses about 100 mana and about 200 health in exchange for getting that bounty rune. They also see the fact they're going to be running up against an aggro try, something they don't want to be happening. So they're going to be putting Furion in the bottom lane and rotating their heroes up to top. So this is going to set them far behind in the laning phase. Seeing as their rotations, I mean, this is like probably a whole entire creep wave on both sides of the side lane, so it's going to go to complete waste. But at least they've got a tiny Wisp middle. And anything can happen, no matter what happens in the early laning phase. If your tiny Wisp does well in the laning phase, that's all that really matters. Now, the Tidehunter. Okay, so now I see where we're going to be going on. IG, they force the rotations and then continue to make sure that the Tidehunter will still be doing all right by putting at least one of their supports to back him up, seeing as they only need one going up against the Furion. Now, June has to be careful against this lane for sure, though at level 1 and 2, they certainly don't have enough power. Maybe at level 3 they can kill this Tidehunter, though even that is somewhat questionable due to the natural tankiness of the Tidehunter. Death Prophet, as I was saying earlier on in the draft, is not a bad mid to run up against any of these spamming heroes. are rather strong against dual lanes, and combine the fact that you're also a ranged hero, less likely to be caught out by the tiny combination. So in general, the spamming should do pretty good work here for the Death Prophet in both harassing XDD as well as being able to get a decent amount of CS. You can see already 7-4 compared to the 7-2 on the Tiny. Super surprisingly enough, while they did kill the trees, they are not actually stacking up these camps just yet, which is what you normally see. And I think that this may show a little bit of the weakness when it comes to the Eastern scene and their Wisp play. The Eastern scene has actually been, for quite some time, been running much less Wisp than the Western scene. There was that time where we were seeing Wisp constantly being picked up in the West and hardly at all in the Eastern scene. And the Eastern scene do still run the Wisp, and they are still okay with it. They're just not quite as proficient, and I think that really shows in the laning phase a lot of the times, is where if you were to look at a hero like, you look at a player like EGM or something like that, he would have these camps stacked up, and what he would be doing is with the early bottle, keeping XDD alive, and he wouldn't actually be in lane hardly at all. He would just come in, tether, heal up the Tiny, give him a lot of mana, give him a lot of HP, and then go right back to stacking. And what this does allow the Tiny to really jumpstart his levels, because he's getting solo experience here while also having the advantages of taking some stacks later on. The Furion getting a little bit low in the bottom lane, but they don't have enough stuns, as just the Ice Path is the only thing that can hold him in place, so shouldn't really be in any trouble at any point in time. If they ever try and go on him, he can just teleport away. And for the YouTube VODs and everything else, I will just say we are on Chinese servers. If you don't know what that means, it means sometimes things can look a little potato. It doesn't mean the stream is bad, doesn't mean the video is bad, it just means you are actually seeing what I'm seeing. So when you see a Ravage being thrown out halfway through a team fight and doesn't seem to do anything, that's because it was used probably 5 seconds earlier. And jump into the middle lane. Ferrari's actually going to get popped there, as the Death Prophet, as I was saying earlier, is one of the decent heroes to go up against the dual lane, but is still dangerous and ends up getting caught by the Wombo combo. Perhaps lacking an early set of boots is really what cost him there, as he went for the Null Talisman build straight into the bottle. There's nothing too surprising about that, but considering the fact that XDD did go for a very early set of boots for himself and then has that extra movement speed from the Wisp, was able to get that jump on the Death Prophet. So they get the first blood. This bottom lane, or the top lane rather, the Lina Sand King lane. Sand King sitting at 20-1, and they're also going to find a free kill on Chuan, it looks like. The stun, double stuns go out, and Chuan is done for.
Struck down in my pride.
So really nice pick off there. Really good awareness by Lai Gaming to know that Chuan would be hopping around in that area. And the CS score is not that bad for Joji at all, considering the fact he's going up against a Tidehunter. In fact, they're going to go for June now. Not sure if they really have enough damage here as the secondary stun comes in from 5,400, but sure enough, June, thanks to the magic wand charges, is going to be able to turn this one around a little bit. Joji gets a bit low here. June unable to do anything extra, though, to catch him out. It's one of those times where you're like, damn, I kind of wish I had a level of Gush. But, of course, that would leave him a lot more exposed to the aggression of the Sand King Lina. Teleport in. XTT looking to be able to grab the rune. Will get a bounty rune, but it's not going to be worth it. He's going to be feeding away a kill to Ferrari, it seems. Who, another right click. That's all they need. XTT eating a tango there, but not really doing anything for him. Will end up going down, and the bounty rune is apparently still there. I thought that was some lag, but apparently he didn't even pick it up. And now Ferrari, who ends up getting caught in the combination, maybe going down here, but the Exorcism is going to be able to fight back XTT just in time. The bottle heal coming into play beautifully, keeping him just barely alive to allow that Exorcism to do its work, and gets a secondary kill. Dive into the top lane. Looks like they just want to push out this wave as fast as possible. They do have the early bottle for the Sand King. Bit surprised he didn't go for a quick set of arcane boots, but it looks like he's actually going dreads for this game. Would have expected a fast set of arcanes just because him and the Lina would both really benefit from it, but a bottle is also fair enough. So 2-2 now on the board. Lai Gaming falling a bit behind despite their early first blood, giving up 2 quick kills in that bottom rune area, really killing them. As the gold and experience dropping down to their favor. We now have a rotation in from Chisbug, which may come as a bit of a surprise. June faking out the Ravage, but good restraint there from Lai Gaming as they back themselves up, knowing that the Ravage was going to be coming out and that they may end up getting turned around on. Great play by them. You would have loved to see them actually force out the Ravage and still not be caught, but they probably did the best they could at that point. Luo, now that he's level 6 and has upgraded boots, most notably being phase boots rather than the treads, is able to do a lot better up against the Furion. The phase boots are pretty important when you're going to be left solo like this. You would normally think about the treads as being, you're like, oh, it's going to give you more tank, it will probably be the safer boots for you, but the extra movement speed is actually a lot more threatening in these 1v1 sections. Not only does the movement speed allow you to get away from harassment a bit better, so it actually can spell out being the better surviving boots in lane, but also allows you to be able to threaten the Furion a lot easier. Teleport into the top lane, they are going to surround Chuan on all sides, and no matter how many things he dodges, as he did dodge that avalanche, it's not going to make much of a difference. Nice stun by the Lina onto June, but it's not going to make a difference. He's going to get close enough for the Ravage. Will catch out Furion. XCT goes down. XDD is going to turn this one around onto June. He gets thrown up in the air by the Burrow Strike. Not quite enough damage, though, as the rest of the team coming in. Heroes are going to be losing their lives on the side of Lai Gaming. The question is whether or not they can get any return kills. Low gets low, but not low enough, and XEZ is going to be taken out by the Exorcism plus the Crypt Swarm, which gets a triple kill by Ferrari, as I'm not even sure why they tried to turn around on that Spectre. As soon as that Ravage went out, we knew that team fight was going to be disastrous for IG. The question was, how many heroes would they actually lose? And I felt like they had an opportunity to just lose the Fury on them. The rest of their heroes, if they just run straight back, sure, the Tiny got hit by the stun, but they actually tried to turn around and fight that. And if instead they had just gone, great, we traded 1-for-1 with and Ravage used and just ran back and cut their losses, would have been a much better team fight for them. But as is, they feed a lot of gold into Ferrari, into the Death Prophet Ferrari as well. That is not a hero you want to be feeding. As that means all that extra golden experience will play havoc on them going into the mid game, where the Death Prophet's strength is really going to be shining and not only winning team fights, but also, probably more notably, pushing down towers rapidly. And Lai Gaming, they're really trying to buy for time here and trying to go for the split push and with the Tiny Wisp and with the Furion. But if the pushing power of IG is so overwhelming that they can't split push faster than IG just 5-man into them, then they're going to be forced on the defensive. They're going to end up in that awful position you never want to be in, which is trying to defend your barracks up against a 5-man push. With these kind of lineups, what you aim to do with the split push is never be in that position. You always want to be split pushing so effectively that you force the enemy team back or you make a trade. They take a tier 3, you take a tier 3. They take a set of racks, you take a set of racks. And you never actually get in that position where you're forced into a team fight just because you're split pushing so well that you are actually keeping up with the 5-man push, despite the fact that you're only running 2 heroes there or 3 heroes there. So feeding a set of drums into the Tiny, thanks to him popping some stacks. He's going to be going for the early stats build and not straight for the Aghanims. Felt like this is kind of necessary, as the early team fighting power of the Sand King Lina will allow them to still be aggressive going into this 15 to 25 minute marker, at least when it comes to finding pickoffs. But they obviously don't want to be going into the full 5-man Ravage. Take a look at the net worth as we start getting into the 12-minute marker here. What is that? That's actually gold per minute. So net worth, top 2 on the board, being both the Spectre as well as the Death Prophet. Not really a big surprise there. The Tiny, not too far behind, but think a large part of that and his recovery was from these 2 stacks. That's the only reason he's actually anywhere close to being in range. Now, Zhao Ji is actually going to be stunned up by the Ice Path, and he does have a Burrow Strike as well as a Sandstorm to get some distance here, but it seems like it's not going to matter as the Zeus ultimate is dropped there for that kill. They're also going to go over XDD in the middle lane, Ravage being blown. Oh, wow, that relocate. Woo! That was a close one. XDD dropped down to like 10 health there from that Ravage, but beautiful play from the Wisp. And will not be bringing back his ally. Still trying to get himself away thanks to the Haste Rune. And the bottle just enough to keep him alive through the Liquid Fire. Nice turnaround, though. XDD trying to get a kill onto Chisbug, but the 2-headed dragon being a bit too tanky. Where is the split push? The Furion actually going back to base. He's still going to be going for... Whoa, no, he just sold his Null Talismans and rebuys them. Apparently, he's having a hard time deciding what build he's going to go for because they're saying it looks like he's going to be going for the Blade Mail build. Double Null Talisman, Blade Mail, but he's a bit far behind. Like, he's only sitting at 2,800 net worth right now. That is not a good sign. And they find, oh, beautiful. A 2-man stun followed up by a combo stun. The toss in as well. They'll wipe out both of those heroes. And Chisbug, with the teleport in, will add in a 3rd victim to the rampage that Lai Gaming just instilled onto the middle lane. Nicely played as they make that clutch smoke rotation around behind the middle tower, and that Burrow Strike setting everything up there. Lai Gaming, this is what I was talking about. They still have the possibility to be aggressive in the 15 to 25 minute mark. It's just not your like full 5-man aggression. It's more like finding those pickoffs, those skirmishes, those 3 versus 3s, 4 versus 4s. They don't want to be going into full 5 versus 5s up against the Exorcism plus the Tidehunter ultimate. There's a lot of big team fight ults on the side of IG, but some of those smaller engagements are still favorable for Lai Gaming, especially thanks to they have a good way of being able to force those kind of smaller engagements because of the fact that they can still stay very well spread throughout the map with the Tiny Wisp on one side of the map, the Furion on the other, while looking for kills with the Sand King Lina combination and still have all 5 heroes in that engagement. Whatever the Sand King Lina find, they can still have the relocate in as well as the Furion teleport and still be there with a full 5-man crew. So you find just a 2-man pickoff like that, you easily go in 5 versus 2. 6 to 7, 13.5 minutes in as we are currently waiting for the Lina to come back into the game. IG, you can see that heavy spike upwards in both net worth as well as experience. IG were holding on to a nice lead in this game until that last jump into the middle lane. And really bought Lai Gaming a lot more time. Take a look at the items. Ferrari going to be going for the old scepters. Nothing too surprising there. And we have the drums on the Spectre. How much gold is he holding on to? Because, okay, only 750. This is about the time where you try and make that decision. You can still go for the Radiance. You went for some early stats. Sure, it's going to delay your Radiance. Phase boots, the drums. Those are not bad things. Right? It's not bad to delay your Radiance with some early stat items like this. But this is about the time where your build starts splitting itself. If you're able to farm up well enough and are able to hold on to enough gold, you may consider going for the Radiance. If not, you'll probably go for, and I think this build is a bit more likely anyway, a Diffusal Manta style build. This build is actually really effective, especially up against this team. You look at some of the heroes, the Lina, the Furion, these heroes are naturally squishy and are made even squishier by that feedback damage, especially once you're able to get a Manta. And it's actually amazing the amount of damage a Spectre can do. If you catch a hero alone, you have the Desolate damage mixed in with the feedback as well. That's an extra 85 damage per hit, and that can apply to the illusions as well. And the rat continues. The tier 1 tower in the top lane will go down with IG not really claiming much in return. You could see they're farming up an ancient stack. Well, that will actually get June a blink dagger, and that is huge. They need that kind of blink engagement if they want to be able to put a stop to the split push and get some good engagements of their own. Still, a lot of towers are up. IG, they're actually behind in towers, which means there's still gold on the board for them to take. So it's a good thing when you look at the net worth board. You're like, okay, Lai Gaming, this amount of gold that they're ahead by right now could be easily explained by being ahead by. But at the same time, to have your death profit be behind in towers isn't really a good sign for the way the game is going right now. Means you're losing a lot more map control than you should. Now, that's why IG are going to smoke up and go for a pick-off in this top lane. Now, they're probably just looking for the Furion, but they're going to be very fortunate, I think, in finding two different heroes here. The quick blink away from the Sand King will manage to get himself enough distance away that he'll just teleport out in time, but they do get the Lina kill with that Ravage. Still, a Ravage being blown, only getting a support. And all the meanwhile, Lai Gaming will be quick to push in this bottom lane, where they will start threatening this tier 1 tower and forcing IG to teleport around the map. You want to be proactive and not reactive on a lineup like this for IG. And unfortunately, with only getting one hero kill and with a Ravage like that, it means you're going to be forced to be reactive. And sure enough, the tower's still going down in the bottom lane. They did also take down the tier 2 in the top lane, though that was denied by the Jakiro. So a lot more tower golds for Lai Gaming. Its net worth is going to continue to spike upwards for them. Nature's Prophet, if he's still planning on going for the Blade Mail builds, can purchase his full up Blade Mail right now. He could go for an Orchid build with this Robe of Magi. It's possible. I mean, pretty much every single hero on the side of IG is actually threatened by an Orchid.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
The Death Prophet, not as much, obviously, because 1, you've got a Yule Scepter. 2, you've your biggest ability, Exorcism, is usually spammed out preemptively going into a team fight. But still, the Orchid is effective against every other hero on the side of IG because none of them are going to be going for a BKB. Spectre, not a BKB hero most of the time. There are those rare instances where a Spectre is kind of forced to go into a BKB. For the most part, you just rely on your natural tankiness and just absorb disables. You can see it looks like Lil is going to be going for a, well, he went for the early Vitality booster. I think this is just a value Vitality booster at this point in time. Later on, he'll build it into a heart, but probably more likely that he's going to be going for the Diffusal build with the current gold he's rocking. Zhaoji is actually making a rotation here into the middle lane. This is a full 5-man here from IG, so I'm not sure if this is an engagement they really want to take just yet. Though Lai Gaming do have the Tiny Wisp already in front of the tier 1 tower, making sure it's defended. Ferrari's going to come in from behind with the Invis rune active and is going to be searching to try and pick off at least the Wisp here. A Crypt Swarm may get him close enough, but nice little jump away thanks to the tether. And Ferrari will just chase away the heroes while the rest of his team takes down that tier 1 tower. Meanwhile, the bottom lane, tier 2 is being threatened by XTT. And as they rotate heroes in, watch this. The teleports are going to come in, and this is the right opportunity for the Sand King and Lina to strike, but doesn't look like they're going to find anybody. As the teleports were successful in getting out ahead of time, the biggest thing being that really Luo's ultimate putting a stop to that Blink Dagger from Zhaoji. He was looking to be able to grab some of those heroes that were teleporting away as IG split themselves. Try and stop 1 or 2 teleports. That would be an excellent chance for you to get a pick off there. The Spectre ultimate, though, stopping that Blink Dagger, putting it on cooldown, while also being able to allow him to get the kill into the Furion. I don't think that was intentional. I don't think Luo knew that the Sand King Lina was going to be jumping them necessarily in that middle lane. I think he was just really using it to find a pick off on the Furion. Now, Zhaoji is going to be in some trouble. Another Sandstorm goes out, but thanks to Chuan and the reveal from the Lightning Bolts, he has no escape available to him. And another pickoff in the favor of IG, 6-10 now. As that pickoff was a pretty big one. Remember that Sand King is a core, so that's an 850 gold swing and 1,000 experience. Relocate to the bottom lane. They're going to find Luo, who is able to get out of that sprout thanks to his dagger, which you can't see, but it is on the ground. And able to get himself away from that attempt at a relocate game. And at the same time, oh, look at this. 5400, this is a beautiful bait as the Yule Scepter is used offensively on the Lina, leaving Ferrari exposed to get caught out by the Avalanche stun combination. The Avalanche is off cooldown and will be able to finish off Ferrari. Beautiful bait there from 5400, knowing that the relocate was going to come back. Remember, IG, they know where the relocate is going to. They just don't know where it originally happened. Unless you find that little dot on the ground. Well, Jesus, that's some serious hate. 5400 lays down the full Laguna Blade onto that Jakiro, who I think was probably dead anyway. But still, 2 pickoffs, rapid succession of pickoffs there for Lai Gaming, which will now allow them to be able to push into this tier 2 tower and take it down. IG. This is the advantage of the Tiny Wisp. He does so much damage to towers that you only need a second or two to really threaten and do either some permanent damage or take it down entirely. Oh, this is the dangerous rune, that's for sure. XDD finds himself a haste rune, but it looks like he's going to leave it for the Wisp, possibly. Or maybe he's just going to give the bottle to the Tiny. No, Super's going to hold on to the haste. It is a really nice rune to have when you know everybody's targeting you in a team fight. The jump in from Luo is, ooh, look at that desolate damage. Not quite enough. And, ooh, actually, Lina almost dies inside of the fountain as Chuan tries to pop him with the Thunder's God's Wrath. But as it is only level 1, wasn't quite enough damage. And Wisp now finishing up a full-up mech. So 22-minute mech for a Wisp is not bad at all. The recent nerf to the mech really does hurt the Wisp, as Wisp is not necessarily known for having the largest mana pool in the world anyway. So the 225 mana cost of the new mech is pretty harmful, but still a great item for a Wisp for obvious reasons. 8 to 10. 22 minutes in, Lai Gaming are holding total control of this game right now, as IG are still looking to pick up those next side of items. Luo may actually still be going for a Radiance here. He's either going to buy the Diffusal outright from here or go for the Radiance. And looks like Radiance is the build, because Diffusal, I believe, is like 3150 for, yeah, 3150 for Diffusal. So he could have it right now, but he's going to opt for the Radiance build. Almost has the Relic. Means his effectiveness is going to be delayed by a couple of minutes in these team fights, but obviously the Radiance is still going to be really effective against many of these squishy heroes. You've got 3 different heroes on the side of Lai Gaming that are all decently squishy, that the Radiance tick damage is really going to play a large impact into their minimal HP points. The Lina, Furion, as well as the Wisp. Hell, even the Sand King isn't that squishy, or isn't that tanky. Even if he is a strength hero, he is still exposed. He's only sitting on 1,300 health right now. Looks like he's going to be going for a BKB. On core Sand King, I usually hate Aghanims on Sand King, as Veiled Discord will give you a lot more damage. But on core Sand King, I think Aghanims is acceptable. The lower cooldown can actually play a pretty big part for core Sand Kings. I don't feel it's as effective for support Sand Kings, though. So that is a possibility with the Ogre Club, though. If he was going to go for that, much more likely he would have a point booster over an Ogre Club. So I'm sure he's going to be going for a BKB. A lot of magic damage on the side of IG, plus a BKB allows you to blink in and Burrow Strike and then Epicenter, rather than trying to Epicenter preemptively before jumping in and getting off a Burrow Strike. And that actually allows you to be a lot more accurate with your Epicenters. Yule Scepter and soon to be a BKB for Ferrari. The Relic being grabbed by Luo, and almost the Radiance is up. Lai Gaming, I think they really had an opportunity to push down that last tier 2 tower before the Radiance was up, but I think they missed that opportunity. But with Roshan, they may still have the strength to take this next team fight, guaranteed. The Radiance always makes things a little bit hazardous, and whether or not they can actually win a team fight anymore, but if they have an Aegis on their side, makes it a lot easier. Now, the ultimate from the Zeus just exposed the fact that Roshan was going on right now. Lai Gaming still have the Spectre ultimate to worry about, and IG, they're going to be making this jump here. The jump in, an Anchor Smash goes out. June just trying to chase them away, as they're actually going to go for June here, trying to force the Ravage, and sure enough, he will oblige, using it on XDD at 5400 and Super, both being popped. In the process, June is going to be enough to allow them to get 3 different kills for IG, and with the Exorcism already being used, why not go in and claim yourselves a free Roshan? So, I'm not sure why they really tried to go for the Tidehunter there, as June was more than happy to give them the Ravage in that scenario. Especially catching some of those supports. I mean, between being hit by the Ravage plus having the Spectre Radiance on them with the ultimate, that's enough to kill some of these supports by itself. And you saw the Wisp and the Lina, they didn't stand a chance. So I can't believe they played that so aggressively, as the chance of them being able to pop the Tidehunter without him being able to use Ravage is very minimal. Basically, the way it works is you're going to get probably 2, maybe 3 Kraken shells from full to nothing. And while Kraken shell does dispel any of those stuns, if you have any stuns that go off immediately following the Kraken shell proccing, you can actually still kill the Tidehunter and not allow him to Ravage at all. It's just not very likely. You need those stuns to be like on point. You have to constantly be throwing out stuns and stopping the animation of Ravage, and it's just not very likely to happen. Maybe with a large amount of burst damage from Laguna Blade, maybe that was what they were really banking on, is bringing that Tidehunter down to about half health and popping him from the Laguna Blade, but still a very risky maneuver when really they should be playing for map control more than straight up team fights, especially now that the Radiance is finished. So IG, after the team fight like that, I really felt like Lai Gaming were ahead before, but that team fight, IG are winning this game now. The net worth and experience will kind of back up that statement. Gold still slightly in the favor of Lai Gaming, though it's dipped down considerably, and experience is heavily in the favor of IG now. But considering the fact they've got an Aegis, IG can now be fully on the offensive. If they want a 5-man down mid, it's going to be fairly easy for them to take a tier 2 and maybe even get a little bit more here. The relocate may be necessary from the Wisp, as he actually runs out of mana here. Relocate goes out, will be able to save XDD as a nice 2-man stun from 5400 will add in an additional mount. 5400 not going to die from that dagger, but will be brought quite low. Low enough that if Lua wanted to, he could pop the ultimate, but holds on to it for now. The Super Wisp will be brought back straight into death. Look at that though, big item pickup for XDD, as this really increases your split pushing power. The Assault Cuirass. And this is what I was talking about. Split pushing hard enough that you never lose towers, because they always have to back up before you. And especially with the Necronomicon 3 soon to be up, Shadowblade build for XDT. Shadowblade into Necronomicon, so going a little bit old skill. Meanwhile, Zhaoji and 5400 going to be looking for a pickoff in the enemy jungle. Haven't seen a Laguna Blade in quite some time, and I'm sure that's really what they're looking for right now, is they're going to be spotted out. He does have a BKB in this scenario, but he's obviously not in a great position, as he is able to make the teleport away before anything else. The Spectre ultimate goes off, not enough to kill anybody though. And that was not bad. I mean, it was sure, it forced a BKB charge, but you also revealed that there's 5 members of IG inside their own jungle. You also forced a Spectre ultimate out of that. That means you've got full reign to push in this bottom lane without any fear. You can push it all the way into the base without fear of being picked off, just because the Spectre ultimate pretty much a necessity for IG in taking team fights. And I'll say it again, the stream is not lagging, most likely. I mean, maybe you've got bad internet, but Most likely, the stream is not lagging for you. It is just the perfect world servers. That's why the animations are delayed. Ravage are going to go off. They're going to catch both of these heroes. And XDD is left alone here. The attempt to teleport away is not... Oh, it actually does work. Chuan, where was the lightning bolt? It must have been on cooldown there. I'm not sure. He must have used it early on in the team fight, which was not necessary. But I can't believe all their stuns were blown, as that should have been a free pickoff on the Tiny. But it's really good awareness, I suppose, by XDD to realize that they used all their stuns and seeing that opportunity to teleport himself away.
Radiant's bottom tower.
Luo going for the bottom lane push is going to be able to finish up his heart very soon, especially if he can lay claim to that tier 1 tower bounty.
Radiant's bottom tower.
And there goes the Aegis. Jump in. They're actually going to go for this one as Zhao already bringing Luo down to about half health. Alina going to miss the stun there as the relocate comes a bit too late. They're going to jump on Chisbug up next. If they only get this one kill, it'll be all right. But it looks like IG are actually going to go on for the full fight and try and avenge Chisbug as Ferrari pops his ultimate, able to get the Sand King. And now looking for even more as XDD was not brought back by Super, is now going to be forced to try and teleport himself away. But it looks like Chuan should be able to stop him with the Lightning Bolt and brought down 4 heroes for 1 in the favor of IG. Double kill on Ferrari and a double for Luo. As... goddamn, the servers are awful. That was nasty. But a 3,000 gold swing. And, that's a lot of experience. Almost 8,000 experience into, not 8,000 experience. 6,000 experience going the way of IG. And that's just the team fight in and of itself. That doesn't talk about the tier 1 tower going down, as well as now the tier 2. And there's a secondary Ravage now for June as he finished up his refresher orb. And it's about to pick up his level 3 ultimate as well. Meanwhile, Shiva's Guard is going to be the next item for the Death Prophet. And still needs another 2,400 gold for it. Manta is actually finished up by Luo instead of going for the Heart. I still like this build. Manta and Heart are kind of on par for me. The Manta is a little bit more of an offensive build, but it still gives you some good stats and increases your survivability by a lot. So if he feels like survivability is not the be-all, end-all, Manta's a nice sort of in-between item between defense and offense. Yasha, speaking of Mantas, XDD, that's going to be his next item of choice. As they're going to run into Luo here. Do they actually have enough damage? With the Necronomicon minions and all the burst damage from XDD, oh, it's not quite enough. They reveal him with the Sprout, but he's already away. As that high amount of movement speed on the Spectre between the dagger, plus the phase boots, plus the drum charge being used, he goes up to max movement speed, and it's so hard to catch him. Necronomicon 3 being finished up. I don't think he used Necrobook. In fact, he did not use Necrobook and then attempt to going for the kill. That's small things, right? That extra bit of damage from the Necrobooks could have been enough to get the kill. Ferrari and June. Junebug. Is it about time to 5-man, or do they wait for the next Aegis? Well, maybe with a pickoff, they could go for a 5-man push. Ferrari's going to try and catch him out with the Shivas, but nice little leash away to 5,400 will get him out. And XDD, he says, oh, you're thinking about pushing in that middle lane? Well, look behind you, because your tier 3 towers are going to be threatened by me if you continue to go for a 5-man push. Though Spectre, being one of the better heroes to deal with split push like this, especially with the Manta combined with the Radiance, he can easily deal with this push and still be there for if there's a team fight in the middle lane. Though it doesn't look like it, Lai Gaming are going to be content to go for split push here. The relocate in from the Wisps, they're going to try and beat down this tier 3 tower as fast as humanly possible. Between them, the extra attack speed from the Wisp as well as the Furion possibly joining in. 2-man stun. The Avalanche will keep Super alive. They want to make sure that Super lives through this engagement. And they force out a glyph, and they also take down some tier 3 towers, but nothing too major. for Lai Gaming. A bit of chip damage there. In exchange, they did give up the tier 2 in the middle lane. GoScepter for the Wisp. Definitely needs it, as every single team fight, they're going to be gunning for him, Bo. The GoScepter is only going to protect him from the Exorcism and some of the right-click damage from the Spectre. There's still a lot of magic damage, most notably coming out from the Zeus, as well as some of that Radiance Burn damage he's going to have to worry about, and he leaves himself exposed to with the GoScepter. So it's still going to be all about positioning for this Wisp, and whether or not Super can actually survive with the relocate. 9-19, the gold lead growing for IG. Sitting about 6,000 gold lead and maybe about to grow even more, as they are looking for a pickoff. In fact, it looks like they're going to get Lina here. Not sure why the Sand King was backing out, but the Lina did not. He still gets out. Oh no, the GoScepter just barely in range before the TP out, and with everything else coming into play. Zeus actually popping the ultimate. They need to get back to base as soon as possible, though. That small bit of a delay from the Blink Dagger by the Lina actually bought XDD enough time to almost finish up that tier 3 tower. Nice aggressive use of the Ravage there to try and catch out Super. A secondary Ravage possibly being used, but the teleport away by the Wisp will be on time. They do get the Tiny, though. As I'm not sure if that was... Yeah, he just ran out of mana on June. So he didn't have a secondary Ravage to put a stop to the Wisp. Still, though, they get the Tiny, and that's the important hero, right? The only real reason you go for the Wisp is just to make sure that he can't relocate away and save the Tiny. So if they get the Tiny anyway, it's not so bad that the Wisp got out. And things are beginning to really heat up here. As Roshan now being back up, we have some big objectives that are going to be taken in the next 5 minutes. I doubt this game is really going to stall out much longer. Luo is going to be gone on here by the Sand King, though, again, the large amount of movement speed easily allows him to stay ahead of the Epicenter. Now, they do reveal him, but he's only been brought down to half health, and they have no extra stuns to catch him down. Maybe if there was a Lina there or something like that, they could have popped the Spectre, but it's in no regard. Now again, Lai Gaming, if you look at just like the straight up, if you were to put these drafts from IG 55 minutes in, you just kind of smash them against each other, right? 5 versus 5, go, go, go. IG do have the advantage. Like, they have Spectre, I think, is actually the better carry than the Tiny, because you spread your damage out through all 5 of the heroes, plus you have the opportunity to buy back TP. Whoa, Ravage being used that way. As 5,400 will go down at the cost of a Ravage. XTT is going to try and do some damage to June, but he's going to need to back himself up. GoScepter being used by Chisbug is going to catch out Zhaoji. They teleport in. Trying to find somebody with this relocate, and will be able to get at least Chisbug. Actually, they didn't relocate. They just ran in. Chuan, though, has managed to kill the Furion, and now needs to teleport himself away before XDD can catch him. Chuan makes a blink to the left side, and has no TP, but got himself far enough away. He'll just burrow his way through the jungle and get to the side shop. So, good exchange for IG, though it's still going to be Lai Gaming. Be on the defensive, or offensive rather. Ferrari, though, gets out the BKB, and is now going to try to turn on XDD. Super, getting some distance away. Luo's going to try and catch up to him. He should be able to get the super kill, the stun, toss, something coming out. Actually, GoScepter being used on the Tiny, and maybe he just killed himself in the attempt to try and save his Wisp, as the GoScepter's holding him in place for a while longer for Ferrari to get close enough. Here comes that Exorcism damage. This Cluckles fearlessly slides right on by. XDD is super fast, though, as both the drums, phase boots, and everything else put him almost to max movement speed. He manages to get picked off, though, as the last nuke comes in from Chuan. And another 2 heroes down. IG, I think this is about the time. You either choose to go for Roshan here. It's either a free Roshan or a free team fight. And what they may or may not realize is that Lai Gaming have no buybacks on the Tiny. So this could actually mean a free set of ranks, depending on how good this Epicenter is. Now, Zhao Ji is going to go for it. He leads for Luo. Actually gets the stun onto Ferrari. BKB activated. Luna just gets blown up in the process, though. She tries to go in. Doesn't even get off the Laguna Blaze. And now Zhao Ji will go down as well. And it looks like this game is potentially over now. Too many pickoffs. The Tiny is going to be coming up soon, but with that number of kills, that number of big pickoffs, plus this middle Rax probably going down in the next 10 seconds before the Tiny is up. Hell, I'm not even sure if even if the Tiny was up right here, right now, I don't think you go for the fight anyway. You've got no backup. There's still the possibility of the split push, though. Can't forget about that. The tier 3 tower going down, but IG have definitely bought themselves a huge advantage. The relocate in, though. They're going to try and claim this. The glyph goes out. The teleport's in. Lai Gaming, can they actually turn this one around? They gave up so much in this last engagement, but if they lose their Tiny Wisp right here, right now, no, looks like the relocate away is going to be on time, and they claim a full set of racks. Huge play there from Lai Gaming as IG unable to back up in time to defend their racks or at least get the counter kill. So Lai Gaming keep themselves in the game. And again, this is what I was saying earlier, right? If you look at these drafts and you just smash IG's lineup up against Lai Gaming's in a 5 versus 5 team fight, I think IG will actually win that 7 times out of 10. So I think they do have the better fighting advantage going into late game. The advantage of Lai Gaming is not necessarily in the carry power of the Tiny and team fights, but the split pushing power and the rat possibilities here. As XDD is going to be run into by Ferrari, and this is another huge pickoff here as both the Tiny as well as the Wisp will be cleaned up in the bottom lane. And now for another bottom push, a full minute. Again, these pickoffs. IG making the perfect rotations, able to find the heroes that they need, and without the Tiny Wisp combination, how are you able to stop this 5-man push from IG? The one good thing is the Exorcism will end up going on cooldown right as they get up to the tier 3 tower, though I think it may not matter. Backdoor protection, protecting the tier 3 tower for now, but as the creeps get in range, Luo will be enough physical damage by himself to take down this tier 3 tower. It looks like the courier being picked up by XTT.
Radiant's bottom tower has
But still,
bottom barracks are under attack.
Didn't lose anything, plus a second set of racks going down, and now it's very easy to deal with Rat when you've got 2 sets of racks in your favor. And going to be made even worse as Zhao Ji ends up getting picked off. The turnaround there of the Yule Scepter plus the Ice Path. The Yule Scepter is really proving to be such a good item versus his Tiny Wisp combination, but is naturally good with many of these heroes anyway. It's a favorite item for Jakiro right now due to the fact that with a Blink Dagger, Chissbug hasn't actually gone with a Blink Dagger, but it makes you an amazing pickoff hero. If you blink in, catch that hero with the Yule Scepter, and they get an Ice Path immediately following. Relocate in. They're going to go for a second set of racks here as the range racks being brought down and the teleport away. Relocate runs out. The rat is real, but IG, now that they've dealt with this, the relocate on cooldown for another 60 seconds, they can try and just 5-man through the top lane. All they need is to get megas and then defend their base. IG have a very straightforward game plan here, while Lai Gaming really have to pull out the finesse. There's the defusal for the Spectre. Radiance Heart, Manta Style, Drums, Phase, and a defusal. This is practically a 6-slotted Spectre. He can sell the drums for a butterfly, but other than that, pretty much 6-slotted. Speaking of 6-slotted, the Tiny still does not have his Manta. In fact, has finished up a BKB rather than going for the Manta. A bit disheartening, though, if you're looking for Lai Gaming to form the comeback, as Tiny has just not made much item progression in the last 10 minutes, just due to the pickoffs that have been continually happening. 20,000 gold lead for 30,000 experience lead, but all it takes is one bad team fight for IG, and they will lose control of this game. That's the one good thing about the Furion, combined with the Wisp, is that you can instantly punish the enemy team. Oh, the jump in. Ravage is going to be able to catch 2 and blowing both of those supports up. Meanwhile, XDD, having a hard time dealing with Luo, will be forced to teleport himself away. And dare I say it, well, the Wisp does have a buyback. So if they can actually delay it up, if Jiaoji can actually push in this lane fast enough to get inside of the base and take down the backdoor protection, Lai Gaming can go for the buyback on the Wisp and immediate relocate and go straight for the tier 4s and or possibly just go for the Megas.
Top tower has fallen.
It's a tough call. It's a tough call to be sure. There it is. They're going to go straight for the throne here. The relocate, the backdoor protection is down, and Sand King was able to push in that bottom lane fast enough, but he needs to pop the BKB charge as he's having a hard time dealing with the Ice Path plus the Eul Scepter. Super running low on time for this relocate. He's getting low, but they will be brought back to their base in time. XDT also making the teleport away and claiming a tier 4. Not a bad day's work. As the Ravage goes out from June trying to get himself away. It looks like he was left alone. He tried to teleport out, got stunned up, and managed to still get out. June. The teleport away. The Laguna Blade was not enough damage, and he manages to get out. Used a Ravage for it. Actually managed to use both Ravages for it. So that's actually a very, very large downside. No Ravage for 2 minutes for the side of IG, and maybe that gives Lai Gaming some opportunity. What they really need to do is get one of these lanes pushed out and trying to get into the enemy base. Uh-oh. Sand King gonna be popping his BKB here, and the teleport away will be successful. That's the one thing. The Eul Scepter Ice Path, there is a very, very slight millisecond worth of time where you can actually get off the BKB, or I believe you can also defensively Eul Scepter or blink. Well, you can't blink away due to the 50 damage, but the point being the Ice Path is not instant in stunning up that hero as he drops from the Euls. Ferrari and the rest of his crew is actually going to go straight for the throne here as the glyph is popped from the side of Lai Gaming. They're going to go in. You can already see a counter glyph going down as XDD and Super can try and eat through this tier 4 tower, but it's going to be a close one as they will start beating on the throne soon, but the Wisp is going to have to leave him alone. Actually, they bring him back. They're going to try and fight this one inside their base. The throne being left exposed here. The Radiant side as IG continue to beat on it. Meanwhile, the Furion, he's going to be forced back as well. They know they have to take a full-on team fight here. 5400 runs into Twan, trying to pop him as soon as possible. The throne down to about 1,000 health as June comes in. Epicenter going into play, but not enough damage. Luo still very tanky and alive. XDD going for Ferrari, but not enough damage. The throne is going to be going down. Luo will clean it up as Lai Gaming getting kited around, and sure enough, game number 2 will be taken by IG. As they were holding a good amount of control of this game, but Lai Gaming made it interesting with their backdooring. Still though, IG holding enough control and having enough experience, knowing how to deal with the Tiny Wisp plus Furion combination. Will just 5-man straight for the throne. Very nicely played by IG. And that means they'll take this first round of the G League 2-0, knocking Lai Gaming out of the tournament entirely. So very nicely played by IG, and that means they're going to be moving on to face the winner of, I believe, tomorrow's matchup.